20th of July 2023. This is one of that let's talk skidmarks of mine. And you must excuse me, this thing is totally unscripted and I'm just talking from memory and from feelings. And if the lighting looks a little bit weird or funny, I'm sitting here in the middle of a load shedding session with my UPS batteries on the last leg, so I'm improvising. But the question I have to ask, and I've asked myself a lot of times the past few weeks, where did it go wrong? And I've come to the conclusion that things started going wrong with CODESA. That CODESA shit spill was actually, looking back at it, it was a major political masturbation session. That is what it was, nothing else. Two main parties at that table, the National Party and the ANC. The ANC with a totally unproven support base, totally. And the National Party sitting there with a fucking traitor in charge of it. A guy that led us all on the road to hell. And he did it with a fucking smile. And I was a supporter of that man. And today, if I can get my hands on him, he'll sing a different fucking tune, that's for sure. The fact of the matter is, listen very carefully, the fact that we have in South Africa 11 official languages is more than enough proof that there should have been 11 parties at that table, at least. And now you must understand, each of those language groups, especially the big language groups, has got, let's call it, different tribes in them. And the Afrikaners were not presented at that fucking table. The true Afrikaners were not presented at that table. That is the first fuck up. Where was Jaap Marais? Where was Andries Treurnig? No, we had that WEF agent, the fucker. I only found out recently how deep into their bliksemse pockets he really was. Okay, he was sitting there, but the rest of us were not represented. The Zulus, who the fuck represented them? That Ramaphosa, he represents Swab. The F.W. de Klerk represented Swab. Rolf Meyer was the deputy. All of them were there under strict instructions and constructions from XXX. And that is where things went wrong. The Khoisan was not represented. The Ndebele was not represented. The Swazis were not represented. Who the fuck represented them? But the mighty media machine painted the perfect picture all across the globe. And Mandela also in the WEF pockets. So, that is where it went wrong. And today, we are sitting here. The whole shit story started with the ANC and the National Party was like two street gangs fighting a turf war. And then they came to the decision, hey, we better stop this war or we're going to wipe both gangs out. Let's make a pact. And they started off that first small period government of national reconciliation, or what the fuck you want to call it. In any case, a bullsap as far as I'm concerned. It was a bluff. The National Party died. Why did it die? Because the traditional National Party supporters realized they were sold down the river. and the ANC gang gained final control. And the community was fucked after that, because that ANC cabal sitting at the top there represents nobody on the fucking ground. They're there for their own pockets and on instructions of Triple X. Up to today, that is the case. They stand there and they give you all sorts of shit. And now there's a younger generation that hangs on the fucking lips of Malema. And I've had discussions with blacks which think Malema is a major mystical leader. Let me tell you one thing today. The reality is, a leader does things for the good of the people. A president of a country does things for the good of the citizens of that country. And take this, if a political figure, a political leader figure, has a history of corruption and underhand deals, and did what Malema and his gang did in VBS to old people, stealing their life savings. Those old people was left with nothing. And that cabal, that fuckers, they sit in their cozy, luxury, modern mansions, sipping expensive booze. Their children go to the best schools. But that old granny that lost everything at VBS, she died cold and hungry in a hut. And you want to tell me that is a fucking leader? That's not a leader. That's a gangster. And you think what he did at VBS was rough. Imagine what he's going to do if he gets in charge of South Africa. He's going to do to the Reserve Bank what he did to VBS. Take note. And you cheered. You cheered on. You blacks, militants, you cheer for BEE. You see Umkwa's engineering shop being hammered by BEE and forced into partnerships, and then that shop eventually dies, as we know it happens. You don't care because Umkwas is out. But what about the 50 people that worked for him? The 50 workers that were feeding their family from that shop. You don't feel a fuck for that. And this is the DA included. They are big BEE supporters. They tell you different stories. The same thing. Look at the shit they've done now with this arrest Putin thing. Now we're in a position that President Putin decided, okay, he'd rather not come to South Africa because it puts this weakling, this fucking gutless, spineless weakling of a president of us, puts him in an uncomfortable position. But Putin is a leader and a statesman enough to say, okay, I'm not going to put that guy under more pressure. And I'm telling you now, he made his mind up that this fucker will fold under pressure. So, you guys, you young blacks that think you have a future in South Africa, you better ask yourself, where is your education? How are you going to have a future? This ANC brags 17 million people on SASA. To them, it is a major achievement. Let me tell you what Triple X plan behind that is. Get them on SASA. They would like 50 million on SASA. Why? Because then you will have no will left. You that lost your job due to a BEE fuck up are sitting at your home now with a SASA grant, which just prevents you from dying. But you will never be able to buy something for yourself again. You get your own home, get your own car. Nothing. Send your kids to a good school. Nothing. You won't be able to do it. You are living that triple X dream and shit story that they tell you on the TV. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, you are now there. You own fuck all. Are you happy? But you must understand, your shit is because of shit leaders. If at the Codesa table, everybody, all parties were represented there, South Africa wouldn't have been a republic like it is anymore. It would have been a federation, with each ethnical group having their land, their country, where they're the majority and they will run the show. But you don't have that, because that gangster cabal is sitting at the top, running everybody's lives and fucking everybody's lives up. That's what they're doing, without any conscience. If a factory closes, they feel fuck all. It is you that lose your job. It is you that put your family into misery. They feel fuck all for that. This fucking around with electricity. They started off, and it was a clever plan. Let's use load shedding to pressurize the people. To do it, they had to install some criminal players inside that organization to help manipulate this load shedding fuck up. And it was like unleashing small little mambas into Eskom. And now suddenly they realize that this power fuck up is going to drop, it can pull the government down. Now they want to put a stop to it. And unfortunately, those little fucking mambas, they are now 6 meters. Hell of a dangerous, hell of a poisonous, and they tell these politicians, fuck you, you're not going to interfere with us now. We are in charge now. And they are too weak. They don't even have a decent army anymore. They don't have a decent police force anymore. This state doesn't have security elements, what a good state should have. They don't have it. So why the fuck are they still in charge? When they hike the petrol price, I've asked the fucking question and nobody answered me. Why are we paying so much for our fuel? We are not buying that fucking Brent that they advertise on the TV. We are buying at $50 a barrel from Russia. Who is pocketing that fucking profits? Who? Ask yourself that. But you can run up and down and say, kill the boer, kill the farmer. And you stand there in the stand and you cheer for Malema. And he turns around and he gets into his luxury SUV and he drives back to his Sandton home. And you struggle back to your Sinkaya with no fucking future. And he's happy because you give him the votes so he can sit in that seat and get that moose fucking salary. You are responsible for your own fucking misery. But if a white guy says to you, listen, this is a fuck up, things are going to go wrong, you call him a racist. Fine, call me a racist. Let me tell you something about what's happening in Joburg. Nobody can really tell you what the fuck happened in that street. But let me tell you what is in the future of Joburg. Those mines is flooding with acid water. That whole fucking area right down to Orkney is sitting on dolomite. And unfortunately, most of you don't have chemistry up to matric. And if you had it, you only had a 30% pass. If you know anything about chemistry, you will know that that acid water is dissolving that dolomite. And slowly but surely that dolomite is going to be dissolved to such an extent that the earth's crust cannot support itself anymore. And it's going to blossom down. Look at the sinkholes that happened in Verwoerdburg. Go and look at the sinkholes in Carltonville. Open your fucking eyes. That whole Joburg is going to blossom down a sinkhole. And the real nightmare is, they can't stop it. But this republic needs to break into pieces, 14, 16 pieces, and let those pieces, let those independent republics, let them form federations with one another as they would like. Get rid of this central fucking government. If you don't do it, we are going to perish. And I'm talking to you black people. You have the fucking majority, you have the fucking numbers. But you don't have the insight to see what the fuck they are planning for you. They are planning our destruction. Don't forget, Schwab has published it. 85% of us must go. Don't think they're making idle threats. Don't think that. They have decided 85% of us must go. What the fuck are they doing? They're fucking up the farmers. Why? So that there's no food for you and for me. And then they can feed us that slop or shit or whatever they fucking make in the lab. Is that the future you want? Is that the future you want? But keep on supporting the Malemas and the ANC and the Ramaphosas and shit like that. Keep on supporting them. You will be in that 85% that is going to be removed. That is what they're planning for you. And they don't have any fear. They say it on TV. 85% of useless eaters must go. Now just think for a moment. When are you a useless eater? What is a useless eater? Let me tell you. If you do not contribute to the economy, you're a useless eater. If you're a grant receiver, you're a useless eater. That is the facts. And it is time that you look through your community and find leaders with integrity. A leader with integrity. Fuck these politicians. They have no integrity. The DA is bamboozling people. The DA is a party that does not really deserves an existence. Because who do they represent? You must go and find your tribe. Because it is only tribes that is going to survive. It is tribes that will resist Triple X, not political parties. They are all in the pockets and on the payroll of Triple X. Your problem is, you can't even go to your tribal captain and tell him about your problem, because that fucker has been paid for. He gets a salary and a car. He's not going to listen to you. Remember that. Where can you go and complain? Find a man in your tribe that has integrity. Find him and support him. Fuck political parties. Find that man with integrity. If you don't do that, and that counts for every ethnic group in this country, find a man with integrity. If you don't do it, your chances of landing in that 85% is fucking high. Trust me. The fact of the matter is, we in South Africa are in the shit because we don't have good leaders. We do not have good leaders. You must understand that. You cannot tell me Malema is a leader, but he's got a history of VBS behind him. He's got a history of on-point engineering in Limpopo behind him. That alone should be enough for you to say, stay away. But the problem is, and I handled it in a Skidmark previously, if you look at how many people voted, and then how many people voted for the ANC, and then in that ANC, how many of that vote supports Ramaphosa, You sit with a situation that this whole country is being governed on the vote of 6% of the population. 6%. And you call it a majority vote? You need to look at this. And you are the only one that can decide whether you want to be in that 85%. Think about that. Think about the fact that at that Codesa table, 2 parties ran this show. 2. And today, we are all suffering. I'm not represented. I don't know if you're represented. And if you voted for a weakling or for a criminal, you're not represented. Because that criminal is only worried about his pay that he gets at the end of the month, which you are actually paying. If you're on SASA, you're not paying income tax, but when you buy, you pay VAT. And that pays his salary. And when you sit tonight in your hut, and you had to put your paraffin lamp out, because you're running low on paraffin and your grant is not enough for you to buy enough paraffin to have the lamp running every night. Think about the fact that they're fucking you with the price of that paraffin. You're paying, you must divide the price that you're paying by 2, and that will be a reasonable price. Think about that. There's a lot of things that I've said tonight. And I'm saying a lot of these things in anger, but I'm also saying a lot of these things in frustration. If we cannot sort this fucking story of decent representation out, we are all fucked. This national government is a fuck up. The health system is fucked. The police is fucked. The military is fucked. The education is fucked. Postal service is fucked. Roads, fucked. Transport, rail transport, fucked. Electricity, fucked. Water, fucked. So what the hell are you living for? How the fuck do you think you're going to have a future for your children? Today, as we're talking, everything is fucked already. What do you think it's going to be like when they are your age? What? There will be nothing left. Go and look what Paul Kagame did for Rwanda. He started in 99, roughly at the same time, around about 94, with a country that was really fucked. And today, they're running a GDP of 8% growth per year. And what did this ANC do with this country? Fucked it into the sewer. So, what the ANC did in South Africa is the total opposite of what Paul Kagame did in Rwanda. And there is a black man that cared for his country. A president that cared for his people. Not like these fuckers we have here that care for their own pockets. They feel fuck all for you. If they steal 100 million rand, you don't feel it immediately in your pocket. But when you pitch up at that hospital and there's nobody to serve you, that's when you feel it. So think about this. Get a leader with integrity. Get a leader with integrity. Fuck these politicians. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.